I just made a new merch store, so if you need a hat with a ghost on it, there you go. Hey everybody, it's LavenderTowne. And lately, a thought has been keeping me in a bit of a chokehold. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, and frankly, I'm ready to just give in. I want to make a VTuber. For anyone who doesn't know, a VTuber is basically like an OC that you can literally embody. A lot of streamers use them, and basically they just, through the power of technology, actually like talk and move alongside the person who is voicing them. And it's very cyberpunk and very cool, and I'm obsessed. I am going to make a two-part series, I guess, where I fully design a VTuber from start to finish, and this is going to be a little different than some other VTubers because I'm not going to use an anime style, I'm going to be using my own style, so there's definitely going to be some difficult elements to this because most of the VTuber software is really built for anime styling, especially like the pre-built ones where you can use 3D and stuff. Those are all kind of locked into that anime style, so this is going to be a bit of a journey and we can all learn together. So straight off the bat, I knew I wanted to follow in the steps of VTubers like Guaragura and Korone and choose an animal to sort of start this design off with. And immediately I had this deep desire to put these like sort of low floppy lop rabbit ears on her, but very quickly I knew I didn't want to make a rabbit VTuber. That's been very well covered, and also I just didn't feel like that was really right for the character that I was going for. I pretty quickly realized what these ears were reminding me of. It was a very special memory of when I was around, I think like 11 or 12, when I was a part of 4-H. Now, a lot of you probably don't know this, but I was raised in Idaho, and if you haven't really heard anything about that state, you're not alone, but to keep things short, it's a pretty agricultural area. There's not a lot of like big metropolitan cities in Idaho, and as a result, I ended up doing 4-H as sort of like an after-school activity, and I ended up briefly taking care of a young year-old cow that I named Milky Way. It was really, really fun. I loved hanging out with her. She was a dairy cow, total sweetheart, and it made me really fond of cows. So anyway, this is my cow VTuber, but I didn't want to just stop there with an animal. I wanted her to be a little goth, a little creepy. I really love the idea of like spooky aesthetics being combined with something as cottagecore and like wholesome and like, I don't know, like rural as like a cow. So my whole idea for her is that she's a ghost cow. Listen, we're gonna make this work. I actually love this combination of aesthetics. You just don't see it very often. It's sort of a Western Gothic kind of thing, but then mixed with the aesthetics that VTubing brings alongside it, you know, like over-the-top anime aesthetics and stuff. So that's kind of what we're going with. I first just decided to draw her in lots of different poses and played around with her outfit. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted to do like the standard black and white cow or one of the very cute brown and white like Holland cows. So I did a brown version just to like check it out. I think she looks adorable with like sort of a darker blonde kind of look. And I like the idea that she only drinks like non-dairy milk because like for her drinking cow milk would be like for a human to drink like breast milk. Like I like the idea that this like really creeps her out. So she's like always sipping on oat milk. It doesn't make sense because like cows eat just plants when they turn adults, but listen, for the VTuber it's an important in-joke that I'm already developing. I ended up deciding that this brown and black and white color palette, well, it was really cute and I liked how warm it was. I thought that the plain like monochromatic with pops of orange was more Halloween-y and generally just fit the character that I was trying to make a little bit better. I did this little close-up shot on her face because I'm still trying to figure out what her proportions exactly are and how her face is going to be structured. I do know I want her to have a bit of a gap in her teeth, so I'm trying to show that off as well because that's something we're going to have to think about when I start rigging the VTuber to be able to open her mouth. The next day I wanted to work on basically an outfit sheet. I wasn't 100% sure if I should go with the outfit that I first designed. I really liked it because it was my first design, but one of the things that I actually learned in art school that never really left me, unlike so many of the fundamentals, was that you should always challenge your first idea because it's really easy to fall in love with it and not be receptive to ideas that might be better just because you're more fond and familiar of the one you originally came up with. I also wanted wanted to show what her body looked like under her uniform and everything, because I wasn't sure if I wanted her to have spots or not actually on her skin. One of the only like real complaints I have about VTubers, and this is just like completely my own total like preference or whatever, but sometimes I feel like they don't go quite hard enough, especially when they're picking like really interesting animals. I feel like I want them to just have a little bit more of those animal attributes in them, like maybe there's just a secret furry deep inside of me, but I really do think that it's fun to try to push the design as far as you can and make sure it's extremely clear. So I ended up deciding that she should have spots on her skin, just to keep the cow vibes going throughout. I also really like her single horn. I like that it sort of speaks to the cow thing, but it also speaks to her being a ghost. And she also has this mark on her face that I wanted to kind of look like a mixture between like dripping ink and like a splotch on her face as well. I think in the final draft I'm going to make it look a little bit less drippy, just because I think it's reading a bit as blood, and that wasn't completely accidental. You know, she is a ghost, but I don't want it to be too gruesome. You know, I'm already becoming quite fond of her, and it makes me a little sad. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to roll out. But anyway, that was not the point of the day. The point of the day was to figure out definitively what her body proportions are like and what her outfits are going to be. So I'm going to design 3 outfits, one of which is basically just a full version of the one that I started sketching originally, and then 2 others to sort of like challenge the aesthetic and make sure that this is really the direction I want to go. So you can clearly see that she's a bit chunky. That's another thing I really wanted to do with this VTuber. A lot of VTubers are very petite and skinny, so I'm not trying to like change the world here, but I just thought, she's a cowgirl, so she should, but not like a cowgirl. She's a cow VTuber, so she should be a little chunky. Like, cows are huge. When Milky Way stepped on my foot, like, I thought that my bones were going to shatter into a million pieces. So yeah, I thought it would be more authentic if she had this type of silhouette. Plus I think it's really cute. So I also gave her a little cow tail that also looks like a ghost. I'm just going kind of nuts with all of the, all of the little hints and clues. That's kind of my favorite thing about character design, is leaving little clues and hints about the character all over them. I guess it's not really like a subtle thing, because it's like she's a ghost cow. That's all we're working with yet. I still have to develop like her lore and her backstory. That's something that VTubers actually have a lot of the time. There's information about them that can naturally come out as they stream or whatever, but I think there's a lot of thought put into these VTubers' personalities and making sure that they're consistent, and they really become characters with like likes and dislikes and everything. So anyway, once I was finished making the sort of base, I just gave her like plain white blocked out underwear, just so that it stays out of the way of the outfit, but also so that we don't get demonetized up here on YouTube. Hopefully, I hope this isn't too spicy for YouTube. I really hope not. That would be hilarious. But anyway, I copy pasted her 3 times, and I just generally wanted to make sure that I could draw over these little bases and really just focus just on the outfit. This is something I heavily recommend if you're going to be doing any character design. You do not want to have to worry about the like bodily anatomy and everything underneath. Get all of that stuff out of the way, and then you can really focus just on the outfit. So first thing, I just wanted to draw her original outfit that I had planned on her, and to see how that kind of looks. I definitely want her to have those like long sleeves. That's one thing I really picture her having, and a lot of the like rigging software can allow for like things to like sway in a way that I feel like the sleeves could look really great swaying. So that's just something I'm trying to think about. I'm trying to think about this technology, because whenever you're designing a character, you should be thinking about where they're going to end up. Like, for example, you would never want to make a animation character have extremely complicated patterns on their clothes, because that is just super hard to animate. That's why a lot of the times you'll see animated characters who wear like plaid and stuff. The plaid will just be completely flat, like a flat texture. It won't follow like the pleats of a skirt or the like curve of a tie, because it's really difficult to make that work in animation. VTubers are kind of the opposite, because the way that most of the 2D VTubers kind of work is you draw one drawing with them with all their like eye and their hair and everything on separate layers, and then you build all the animations from that one JPEG essentially. So it's really different. You could make incredibly detailed like lace and things, and it's not going to be really any harder for you. It's just going to make the character look more detailed. Now, you don't want to pile on detail just because you can. It's still important to make sure that designs are really readable, and that's something that I immediately started running into problems with, because while I was just having my fun and happy time designing outfits, I could already feel the over-the-topness that hides within every artist starting to come out of me and make me put perhaps like laces and lace and random stuff, frills and stuff all over the place that maybe it didn't need to be there. But that's okay. You know, it's easier to pull back detail than it is to add on when you weren't necessarily inclined to. So it's not the end of the world. Pretty quickly I realized I really do like the silhouette that her original outfit created. I like her little cross tie thing that she has in the front. I did decide to try out a beret. I knew this was starting to get into like maybe cluttered territory, but I thought it could be really cute, especially because she's mostly going to be seen from like the waist up. I thought that giving her a little bit more pizzazz on her like face and head area might be a good idea, because a lot of her design is, below the waist. Like a lot of the ideas that I had, like this little apron with this big stitches on it and the little band-aids on her legs and, the two-toned socks and shoes, that's not really going to be visible most of the time, which is something that I probably should have thought about while I was originally designing her. But this is all part of the learning process. I have never even attempted to make a VTuber before, so naturally I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Nothing too catastrophic yet. I know that I want her to have her arms up in sort of like that like ghost hands kind of pose. So the sleeves still make a lot of sense, and I think that her sort of top area is pretty strong on most of these designs. I think that my like leftmost design is definitely too much, and I think that I end up like changing it because it was definitely too much. It was getting like really anime over the top in a way that I don't think gels particularly well with my art style. These overalls were a natural thing to try out because obviously she's a cow, and overalls give you very much a farm chic kind of vibe. They definitely had a lot of potential, I think. I like the buttons because they do look a little bit like cow noses or like pig noses, and I think that that's really cute. That's a very subtle kind of thing, not as extreme as like me giving Planchette skull faces on her sleeves. And then I did this little like looped like lace kind of thing on the edges of her undershirt, because I realized that's something that you can do with VTubing that is really cool. There's transparency throughout, so I would be able to actually like see her arms moving around within the sleeve, and that's something that really excited me, because again, that's something that would be very difficult to do with hand-drawn animation. I really want to make the most use of this medium as I can. I stuck with the original color palette. I wanted black and orange and white to be kind of the look. I didn't want to go too crazy because I knew, especially with this like urge I was getting to add more and more detail, that I could not be trusted with more colors. I definitely think that it could have gotten so busy if I went any, in any like cool tones or anything other than her hair. And the really nice thing about this is, like, if I want to try to design more outfits, these are all on separate layers, so now I can just like take them off and try new stuff as I continue designing her. I also thought that maybe it would be cool if she does end up with a beret, for her to actually have long hair that's up in there, and that will give a lot more sort of like design choices with her in the future. Initially my thought was that she had very, very short hair, like cropped very short, like almost like an A-line, that goes like all the way up to like the edge of her hairline in the back. But I think that it would be really cute if she could sometimes have braids. I know there's some VTubers who put on different outfits or, have different hairstyles. Actually, I don't know if I've seen that before, but I think it would be cute because it would make them feel more real, like they decided to switch it up. So I think for her that might be really, really nice. I ended up completely scrapping the other design. It was just way too over the top magical girl. Didn't really make sense with the cow or the ghost aesthetic that I was originally going for, and that is the ultimate sin in character design as far as I'm concerned. Forgetting the actual like core story plan that you had and just going into like rule of cool nonsense is something that's extremely easy to do, but it's something I try really hard not to. So instead I decided to go for this sort of cute like dark academia kind of outfit, and I wanted to try and include a outfit that I felt like suited her more. It's hard to even explain why it feels like she would wear this more. I mean, it definitely helps that I actually put ghosts on her sweater. I try to do it in the like inverting pattern that you sometimes see with like diamonds on you know, this type of sweater, this sort of collegiate academic sweater. It didn't really read that way, so I definitely think if I end up going with this outfit, I'm probably going to remove or at least tweak those. But I do like that it's kind of sticking to the theme a little bit better. And then of course I gave her those adorable braids with them actually ending in a little tuft that looks like a ghost, just like her tail. I feel like that is a much more honest to her core design kind of choice than the crazy magical girl outfit I was making for her. And then I made her this little skirt. It's going to be just a little plaid skirt because I was doing, you know, this academic kind of look. I thought that a plaid skirt made a lot of sense, kind of looks like a uniform. I didn't want to really lean into any kind of like schoolgirl aesthetic, so I wanted it to look a little bit more college-y. That's why I avoided the sailor collar. I also think that that just reads as more anime, and I'm trying to make a cartoon styled VTuber. So I did end up going for like a Peter Pan collar with this collegiate sweater over top a, you know, just your standard dress shirt. And I think that if I actually went with this version of the design, I would probably move her braids behind her ears. Her ears are too important, and also I just think anatomically it makes more sense, so I'm not really sure what I was thinking of here. I really like the idea of her tights. I ended up putting them on just because I became embarrassed for her that her skirt was too short, but I really liked the fact that you can kind of partially see her spots through the tights. I think that that's kind of cool, and it really gives it this vibe that she's really wearing something and that this is like real material. And then that finished up my second day of working on this VTuber. I felt like I finally had a better idea of how I wanted her to dress. So this is it for part 1. Part 2 is going to involve me learning live 2D and actually rigging this character so that she can move. I hope you guys look forward to it. Definitely give me any opinions about what outfit you like the best between the 3 that I designed. And if you have any name suggestions, feel free to leave them. I'm still pondering the name, so I am open to suggestions at this point. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this super long video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much to my spectacular patrons, including Violet Knights, Nyum Nyum, Beelzeboff, Vegish, Tom the Chicken, it's Jamal, Kayla Grimes, Rodrigo, Kubo, Momok, Alana the Artist, Rylan Parker, Raylan, Kadaria, Something Super, Deadly Nightshade Art, Maria Vasquez, Astral Fox Art, Middle Z, Milky Bat, Lilia Lure, The Expressive Poker Face, Morrissey Axolotl, Tsubaki, Liliana Hammondtree, Michael Lavalley, Cutie Pie, Rainwater Pearls, Ice Cream Pal, Cola, Your Boy ST, JJ Jade, and of course, Lib Lib Libla.